Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog, and we got to talk about the Brooklyn Nets because there has been a pretty wild rumor going around the NBA that, first it's about Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets, but last year we heard that a team offered 4 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, right? And the Nets said no, and myself and the boys in the Discord included have been talking about Mikal Bridges, about, maybe the Pacers should pursue him. He'd be a very nice fit on the Pacers team. We were saying that, 4 first-round picks is a little steep for Mikal Bridges, right? Well, reports have come out that they have now turned down, apparently 2 teams have offered them 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, and they still said no. You have got to be out of your fucking mind. Like, I don't know what Sean Marks is doing over in Brooklyn. Like, is that who their GM is now? Nets GM. I'm pretty sure it's Sean Marks. Yeah, Sean Marks has turned down 5 first-round picks from 2 different teams for Mikal Bridges. Okay? Now, if it were a guy like Kevin Durant who you gave up to get Mikal Bridges, I would maybe understand. I'd be like, okay, that's a little understandable. But this is Mikal Bridges we're talking about. Okay? This is not a guy that makes your team a perennial playoff team just because he's on your fucking roster. Okay? We're not talking about a Giannis level guy here, okay? Or a Joel Embiid or a Nikola Jokic level guy or a Luka Doncic level guy. We're talking about a kid who's 27 years old. He's a very good two-way player. He averages about 22 a game, but is he single-handedly taking your team to the fucking playoffs? No. Arguments could be made that his stats are actually down from what we saw in the second half of last year. In fact, they are down, right? But this is a team that has a bunch of guys on their roster that simply don't fit the timeline of the second half of dudes on their roster. And for whatever reason, this is a team with no direction that plans to keep their star players around because they simply refuse to tank. And, as a Pacers fan, I can tell you that the worst thing you can do in the NBA is be a middle-of-the-pack team. Okay? The worst thing you can do is be a team just good enough to make the playoffs, but not bad enough to completely fucking suck. Okay? Because being stuck in the middle like that means you never really get any better, but you also never really get any worse. So even though your team is competitive, you're still not sorry enough to get a decent draft pick. Right? And that's where the Brooklyn Nets are at the current point in time. They're not shitty enough to get a top 5 pick in the draft, but they're also, not good enough to win an NBA championship or be like a real playoff threat to anybody. This is a team with Cam Thomas, who I believe is 22 or 23 years old, and Dariq Whitehead. This is a team with Noah Clowney on it. They have Day'Ron Sharpe. They have Nick Claxton. They have a bunch of young guys on their roster, and that's half of their roster. But the problem is the other half of their roster is a bunch of older dudes who simply don't fit their fucking timeline. Right? Refusing 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges is it seems like a fireable offense. I'm just going to call it what it is. Like, if I was the GM of the Nets and you offered me 5 first-round picks plus salary filler for Mikal or Mikal Bridges or whatever the fuck his name is, okay, you could gladly have him. Like, I'm sorry, but when you turn down an offer like that, who the fuck do you think he is? Kevin Durant? Like, I get that you gave up Kevin Durant to get him, but you're a team that needs to rebuild. Your record is 20-28. You are not going to be in the playoffs. If you're a play-in team, you'll be fucking lucky. At least the Chicago Bulls have enough sense to be like, okay, well, we need to get rid of Caruso. We need to get rid of DeRozan. Zach LaVine's a guy we're willing to come off of now. The Bulls understood that it's time to move on. It's time to rebuild. The Nets are sitting here with Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Mikal Bridges, or Michael Bridges, whatever the fuck you want to call him, and they just seem to be comfortable with that. Just being mediocre enough not to win an NBA championship, but also not being shitty enough to get a decent draft pick. And this is a team that if they traded these guys now, are you kidding? They could walk away with 7, 8 first-round picks potentially in all the guys they got on their roster and really start putting something decent around Cam Thomas. Get yourself a point guard. Get yourself a power forward potentially. Get yourself some wing play. All right, maybe you wheel and deal. Get yourself a young player for, Bridges or even Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's a guy that I think could command 1 or 2 first-round picks. Spencer Dinwiddie is maybe worth a first-round pick. Royce O'Neal is maybe worth a late first-round pick. Okay, they have so many guys on their roster that other teams desire, and they just refuse to let go of them. Now, I understand you are kind of in salary cap space hell at the moment with Ben Simmons being that nobody else in the league is probably going to take him from you. But, once that clears up, Ben Simmons isn't fucking playing for you anyway. It's just... Ben Simmons has been an injury-prone player for, the past couple years now? I don't get it. I don't understand why they refuse to let go of, Bridges, Cam Johnson. Rumors are they want 2 first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith is good, don't get me wrong, but is he worth 2 first-round picks? No. And if you look at the guys on the roster, half of them, everybody that I listed, Bridges, Cam Johnson, who else? Ben Simmons, Spencer Dinwiddie, Royce O'Neal. All these guys are above the age of 25. And you have half your roster that are all guys above the age of 25, and you have half your roster with a bunch of guys below the age of 25. You have Keon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith Jr. You have all these guys on your roster who need playing time and are simply not getting it because you refuse to get rid of the motherfuckers on your team that are pushing 30 or close to it, or actually are 30. So I don't get it. I don't understand what they're doing, but this is a team that has the ability to rebuild their team over the next 5 years here, and they're simply choosing not to. I get that, I get that there are certain owners in the NBA that simply refuse to tank and don't want to be tankers. Being a Pacers fan, I understand that entirely. Because the Simon family for a while refused to rebuild, and honestly, they still refuse to rebuild. They want to retool instead of be crappy, it's commendable. But the thing is, the longer you do that, the longer you sit there and be a mediocre team, the more time goes on of you just being just good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to be fucking terrible. It's a weird place to be in. Okay, this is a team that needs to rebuild. Okay, I get that the 2024 draft is not super sought after. I understand a lot of teams they're not very high on it. They don't think there's a lot of really great players in this draft. But, this is a team that could develop players instead of just hanging on to guys that simply are just going to lose value the longer you hold on to them. And that's the problem with this. It's yes, Bridges' value right now is probably the highest it's ever been, and is ever going to be. And instead of trading him and getting him off your roster and just being the sellers that you should be at the trade deadline, they're hanging on to him and not returning phone calls for whatever fucking reason. There's some teams in the NBA that could use Cam Johnson. The Pacers are a team that could use Dorian Finney-Smith. They're rumored to be in talks for Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal's a nice vet that, a team like maybe even the Lakers could use. I just don't understand any of this. Ben Simmons is a guy that you're probably not going to be able to come off of, but Bridges is a guy that a lot of teams need. The Pacers want him. From what I understand, the Houston Rockets want him. There's a lot of teams out there that would like to acquire Bridges and would give you, everything from the moon to the sun and everything in between for him, and they're just saying no. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Brooklyn Nets. All I know is they're wasting everybody's time. This is a team with a bunch of talented players on it that is not good enough to get them anywhere. they're better off just trading all those guys, getting whatever young players you can, whatever draft picks you can out of it, because I think you could get a significant amount for Bridges, not just first-round picks. I think you could maybe get, a good salary filler guy that you could maybe flip as well for a pick, plus get a young player. Like, if that was the offer they got, salary filler, a young player, and 5 first-round picks for Bridges, if you turn that down, then you're fucking stupid. Like, I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to put it. You're fucking stupid if you turn that deal down. The Charlotte Hornets are looking to trade Miles Bridges. Maybe you pull off something like that in a way. Maybe you could get Miles Bridges back and send Mikal Bridges or Mikal Bridges to the Hornets. Something like that, maybe potentially. It's just, I don't know what the Nets are doing. And this seems like Sean Marks is fucking up a lot. I get that you fucked up the James Harden trade. You should have never traded James Harden for Ben Simmons. I get that you got draft picks out of it, but you essentially got a guy who's just an injury-prone guy. Yeah, you got draft picks out of it, but the thing is, if you're the Nets right now, you're a team that needs to rebuild. You're refusing to rebuild, and when you get the opportunity to put yourself in a prime position to rebuild, you're still saying no. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm at a point now where I believe that Sean Marks deserves to lose his job. If you really turn down 5 first-round picks for Bridges, and because he's got $21 million in salary, I'm sure it came with salary filler plus another player, potentially 2 players and 5 first-round picks, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. So, I understand Bridges is a good player. I understand the teams that have good wing players like him are reluctant to give them up unless an offer really blows them away. But he's 27 years old. The older he gets, the value is only going to go down. And, we were saying that 4 first-round picks for him might be a little much, right, for what he's actually worth. The idea that you turn down potentially 5 first-round picks for him, at that point, I have to say, there's something fucking wrong with you. So, tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.